Welcome to the latest episode of Learning with Success, the show for parents of school-aged children, sponsored by Success Tutoring Online. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Stephen Hubbell. So he is a lifetime resident of Burbank, California, having been born and raised here. He attended William McKinley Elementary School, David Starr Jordan, now Dolores Huerta Middle School, and then John Burroughs High School, before heading off to UC Davis, where he distinguished himself as an athlete in both football and track, while also earning a degree in aeronautical and mechanical engineering. He now holds not one, not two, but 3 master's degrees, one for industrial and systems engineering, one for education, and another for educational leadership. Plus, he has over 21 years of experience teaching high school physics and chemistry. On top of all of that, Stephen Hubbell has held every assistant principal position available at the local high schools and now holds the position of principal for Luther Burbank Middle School. So welcome, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much, Armando.
All right. Very good. Well, like I said, I gave you quite a little illustrious little introduction there. But I know that you're not here to talk about yourself. So I wanted to find out more about what's going on at Luther Burbank Middle School. What are some of the highlights of what's happening there with regard to academics, the arts, or anything else?
All right, great. Thank you so much, Armando. One thing I got to say that I'm proud of is that Luther Burbank has, I feel, one of the best group of elective programs. We have a phenomenal culinary arts program led by Lisa Raleigh. We have an engineering program that's run by Jessica Shackney. Our vocal and instrumental music is phenomenal. Tony Redmond, in charge of the choir, and Mr. Hernandez, Joel Hernandez, which oversees the instrumental. We have Luke Gattuso with video production. We're bringing back an arts program, our arts program, because of enrollment. We lost it, but we're getting it back this next year. We'll be hiring a new art teacher. Our Spanish teacher, Mr. Solorzano, has been killing it. He's been doing an awesome job. That program keeps on getting bigger and bigger. We have a really tight, well-knit family. We call it Yellow Jacket Nation. And we have a lot of veteran staff members that are dedicated, and it's a very great and warm place to be. So, I'm really proud to be over at Luther Burbank Middle School.
Very cool, very cool. Well, that's a lot of stuff you got going on. I remember when I went to middle school, it was actually up in a small school up in the northern part of Sacramento. But like I said, it was a much smaller school, and we didn't have even a third of all of these things that you've got. So that's actually very cool. So now, are a lot of kids taking advantage of these things? Do you get a lot of enrollment and participation in a lot of these things?
So our enrollment, coming off the pandemic, our enrollment has decreased. We are on the low, and we're 860 students. One good thing is that I want to say with moving into next year, I slowly see the enrollment increasing because of the great things we offer, over at Luther Burbank. It's some parents have said it's like a private school. I go, what do you mean by private school? They go, well, you get to know everybody and like that. So that's one thing too that I've definitely embraced, and I know a lot of other staff members have is. Getting to know all the kids and building those relationships with them. That's one thing that I take pride in is that I don't want to treat any kid like a number. I want to get to know every kid and get to know all of them. And I've worked at the high school for many years, and high school has our 2 high schools have about 2,400 kids, and I know I got to know the names of close to half of them. So I definitely am taking up the challenge of getting to know every student over at Luther Burbank.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. So, and again, like I said, I remember in middle school, that was my first experience actually playing an instrument and actually being involved with band, and I thought that was so cool. I was mainly familiar with doing all the academics and math and reading and all that kind of stuff, but this was actually very cool. You can actually get creative and actually create music, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. So I can definitely see where kids could enjoy themselves and experience all these different things while at the same time learning too. And I think that's good. That's very good. So now, my last show that I did here, I actually was centered around the idea of what has become known as learning loss. So you and I talked, and you said that learning loss not only affects students academically, but even more significantly, you said that it really affects students in other areas, such as like personal responsibility and social maturity. Now, what did you mean by that?
So, um, students were online learning for almost 2 years,
Yeah.
and when they came back, I feel that one of the biggest thing that you learn from school, other than the academic side, is the social component. You know, there's going to be conflict. You know, how do you deal with it? I don't want students to punch someone in the face. I don't want a student to cry and run away. There's a happy medium. There's a porridge that's just warm and type of it. And kids didn't have those opportunities. They coming into a middle school, coming into a high school, in ninth grade and in sixth grade, we focus on teaching the rules of the new school, of the new area, you know, the rules, the procedures, and whatnot. Over Luther Burbank, we don't allow gum chewing on campus. We don't allow any electronics to be used. And students didn't have that opportunity to learn the rules. And I think they're catching up. I mean, we're coming out of it. They're slowly getting there, but it's just kind of like just the social etiquette and how you go about stuff. We're so used to doing things online. We are doing a podcast online here,
Yeah.
and they're so used to being behind a screen, and a lot of them didn't want to have their cameras on. So it's, you know, coming back, and there's a lot of anxiety that the kids have had of just being in person. I do feel that this year is a lot better than last year. Last year was very difficult. They didn't have adult supervision. They were behind a camera, and they could turn the camera off, and they can, you know, go into another room and play a video game. And now they're being held accountable, which is what we've done before. But if you weren't in school for very long, then the longer you're in school, the more you get used to just, you know, protocols and etiquette. And I think they are getting there, but it's something. It's not just the learning loss, but it's the socialization and that kind of loss.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're getting it, but it's maybe not as fast as we would like, but it's coming along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely things have changed. I mean, not only just from the, you know, before the pandemic, through the pandemic, and now, but I mean, a lot of things have changed. I mean, remember when, you know, when I went to school, when I was actually in school, which was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. Um, you know, I mean, you know, we couldn't even wear tennis shoes. They had to be hard shoes, you know, had to have a collared shirt with buttons tucked in with a belt. You know what I mean? There were a lot of specific things, and this was a public school. This was not like a you know, a private parochial school or anything like that. They have a uniform. This was the regular thing. So, you know, there've been a lot of changes, a lot of transitions, and I see now, like you said, you know, the rules of no electronics. Well, that's actually a big change for a lot, like you said, a lot of students, because some students basically, I mean, they live with their phone all the time. You know, there have been, I'm sure you've seen some of these memes and commercials with a bunch of kids sitting around at a party, and nobody's talking to anybody else. They're all on their phones. You know, so the actual thing of like social interaction and social yeah, just working with other people socially is something that, like I said, like you were saying, something that's was missing during the pandemic, and it takes a while to really get out of that and get back to normal.
Well, I think one thing that was difficult is a pandemic happened and we had to go online, and we just gave kids technology, and we really didn't have a game plan. All we wanted to do was our focus was on the health and safety of everyone.
Yeah.
And we felt that, being at your house and learning via the computer was a safe bet. But we didn't put in any procedures and protocols, meaning, the allowed time. You shouldn't be on the computer all the time. You should go outside, see the beautiful sun. You should go out there and play. That's what you need to do. But we forced kids. And now coming back, gave everybody a Chromebook. You keep your Chromebooks, and that has become part of their everyday life. So it's it's not just on the kids. Some of it's on us adults.
Mhm.
Not. I mean, what I would love to do moving forward is I like to treat the Chromebooks like books. You have a set of Chromebooks in the classroom. You have a Chromebook at home, and when you're not in class, you don't get to have technology. It's good not to have technology. Play basketball, play soccer,
Yeah.
talk with your friends. I think the value, and I learned it from one of my teachers, is that just interpersonal skills that you learn when you're at school. I mean, you could do everything online if you want to, but it's not a class. But interpersonal skills to me are just as important as any of the other academic classes.
And again, the
Yeah.
academic classes, yes, you need a lot of that material, but like you said, for life, when you go out through, I mean, you're going to be dealing with people all the time, unless you become a hermit, you know,
Mhm.
um, you're always going to be dealing with people. So you have to know how to work with them, how to deal with people. And not everybody is going to have the same viewpoint as you are. How do you deal with people like that? Can you, I don't know, work with people like that and still accomplish things and be on a friendly manner, even though they have a different viewpoint? I personally find that having different ideas and different views, I find it interesting because sometimes I was like, wow, I never looked at it that way. That's interesting. I may not agree, but I find it interesting that other people have different ideas, and sometimes they're actually very cool. And sometimes I'm thinking, wow, how could they even think that?
Mhm.
you know? Um, so yeah, that's actually very good. Now, another thing when we last spoke, you said something that I thought was interesting and that I think is also, I think, very correct. But I don't know that everyone would actually understand this. You said that failure helps a person grow. Okay. Now, why do you say that? And why do you think it would be important for students to learn this?
I think well, first off, no one's going to be successful all the time. There's always going to be failures. You got to learn how to be resilient. You have to learn to grow, to improve upon yourself. And most people don't see a reason to grow, a reason to try harder, unless they've had some degree of failure. And failure to me doesn't mean that you're getting a zero on a test. I don't mean that. Failure to some people just means they might not have achieved the level that they expected. Whether it's a grade on a math test, they end up getting a 78% instead of a 99, 100%, like that. So that's what I mean, like that. But I also know that, and since I've become an administrator, and definitely since I've become a principal, I reflect more on my actions and what I do. And many a times, I'm like, I need to do that a different way, like that. Whether it was an interaction with a colleague, or whether it was the way I rolled out an initiative, like that. I'm always self-reflecting, and I just think that you you learn more. It's more in the forefront. I've had students who they don't correct a mistake, don't correct their mistakes, and they go, why? And I got a 92%, 94. I still got an A, and I'm like, yeah, but you still didn't correct it. And when you finally have some degree of failure, again, whatever that failure is, if you're in sports, and I grew up in sports, my father and parents, pushed me into sports, and more for the to get dedication and hard work aspects of it. But when you play a sport and you lose a game, I don't care how well you did, you lost the game, and you need to reflect on that. And you're like, what do I need to do better? Or what does my team as a whole need to do better? So that's what I mean of, you learn a lot more from, how about this? Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a phenomenal player, but he didn't win any championships in the mid 80s. It wasn't until the late 80s and 90s when he started dominating, and he needed to reflect. As great of a player and scoring all the points, he needed to learn, what do I need to do to get better? And I think I think it's better to fail at younger ages. And younger ages to me is, all the way up to your mid-20s, that it's okay to fail and learn from that. And I don't want students, parents to look down on one another when there's a failure, because if you learn from it and you come back stronger, it's actually better. If you look at a lot of these .com billionaires, they had a lot of failures earlier on. I've read up on Thomas Edison, that he had thousands of light bulbs that didn't work before the one that finally did work. So I think, if you accept, like, who cares if you fail when you're 14 or 15, just learn from it. And if you learn from it, you're going to come back stronger and better. And that's kind of what, the path that I take. And that's the thing that I want to encourage kids. Like, don't get discouraged when things don't work out the way you wanted it, but learn from it and do come better. Now, if you keep on making the same mistake again and again and again, you're not learning from it. You're not getting anything out of it. So, I'm a single father of 2 sons, and one's in college and one is a junior, and they've had some failures in their lives, and I feel both of them have grown from them and become better people after that, because I'm that dad who says, hey, look at what you did. Don't do that again, like that. So I feel that I'm kind of a big father to 850 kids over Luther Burbank, and hopefully I want them to learn that it's okay to fail, but just learn from it. So yeah, I've the older I get, the more I've not been happy that there's failure. I don't think anybody should be happy that they fail, but I want them to be aware of it and mindful
or
of
accept it. Yeah.
Exactly.
I talk to students all the time also, and I let them know that if you want to be good at anything, you have to be willing to start off, because whenever you start off a new thing, you're not good at it. I don't care what it is. You see somebody do this great, layup. It's like, wow, that looks so cool. And then you try it the first time, and you look like a total dork. It just doesn't go well. And then you have to, even if you actually even make it at all, and then you try it again, and then you work at it, and you try it again, and it's like get a little bit better. It's like, then you start doing a little bit. You start looking like it's okay, and then you keep working at it some more, and then you suddenly get pretty good, and you keep on going, and then you add your own little flair to it, and then and you just get better and better. And that's true for anything. And I explain to students all the time, that's not only just for things that you do like basketball or football or sports, but even academics. When you are learning, let's say, math, it's not about just getting it done and moving on. Did you actually learn? Did you do enough practice so that you can get good at this thing and be able to actually use it? So it's kind of follows along the same line, like you said, of failure. You have to be willing to actually fail to learn. And I think, nobody likes to, like you said, nobody really likes to fail. So what happens is people tend to shy away from something that they don't know how to do, so they don't actually try to learn and get better, And I think that's actually a very good a principle that you're saying about, you learn from failure. You do, because you have at least attempted it. Okay. Then you step back and say, okay, well, dust yourself off, get back up. Okay, let's try it this way now.
Well, I've heard, I've read, books or watched other podcasts where if you're comfortable all the time, you're not growing. Sometimes you have to be in a state of being uncomfortable, because that takes you out of your comfort zone, that pushes you, that helps you to grow. So that's a part that I'm getting. I'm very uncomfortable right now being a new principal, but I know that if I have a correct process, and I'm transparent, and I work the tail off and do what's best for kids in the district, that I'm gonna have a good product, and a good product is a good school with great kids. I know it's going to happen, but like I said, I'm in that uncomfortable mode because everything's new. I'm out of my niche. I used to be a high school assistant principal. Now I'm a middle school principal. So it's just, just believing in the process and and getting through it. And honestly, the more I do it, the more I want to grow, and I'm appreciative of it. And I just, everything that I learn, I always want to pass it on to to my students. I feel I'm always in the middle, meaning at moments I'm a student myself, a learner, and at moments I'm a mentor, I'm a teacher, coach to everyone. And it's just I think anybody that really always wants to improve and grow, that's the mentality they should have.
I agree. Because if you have somebody that has the idea that they know it all already, they're not going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's actually a very good healthy attitude. Now let me ask you this here. Now you may have actually really answered it already, but now why do you think that learning this will help students in life?
I hate it when my parents are always push me never to quit. And I've learned too that when you don't quit, you'd be surprised how many people out there are not resilient, and people who fold after a failure, after a loss, after not getting what they want. And I think when you instill the it's okay to fail, it's okay, it's a part of the process, like that you instill in people, the strength to be better than who they were the day before, like
Right.
that. And it's, I wear many leadership hats, not just being an educator and an administrator. I'm a father, and I'm always, I always want, my kids to be the best that they can be. And I've had many talks with them when something doesn't go right, and I go, that's all right. You're gonna move on, and you're gonna be better, but you got to get through it. But whatever you do, don't quit, because it's so easy. It's so easy to throw in the towel, to stop what you're doing and say, no, I'm gonna do something else. It is difficult to power forward and move on, and like that. But I think it's worth it in the end. I mean, not just the quality of your work, but just you as a person. I think character is a huge thing. It's not something at the forefront of school, but I think your character, like that. And I really respect the people that that are just tough and strong out there, and in here and in here, versus people that just get it. Sometimes I see like one of my children, he was always getting stuff. I go, he's going to have it tough when he gets older. The reason why is because you are going to have some setbacks. How do you respond to setbacks? If you're used to setbacks, you're like, this is nothing. This is one thing. Don't worry. We're going to move forward. If you're not used to it, I've seen some kids who also who are always getting A's, and all of a sudden they get a B, and they break down. And it's like, well, things happen. Every time you move to another grade, the workload, the material, it's tougher and tougher. And you just got to accept it. And there's nothing wrong with, again, failure doesn't mean an F or a 0. Failure to some people could be, you didn't get an A, you get a B, like that. But it's just not getting discouraged. It's school. We have these marks, we have these letter grades. And I know that that's what you need. You want to have good transcripts, get into good colleges. But when you get older and you were in the real workforce, things happen. Bad things happen. Today I didn't have the best day. Things didn't work out. We talked about it before. I won't go into it, but it's like it had a difficult day. But I know I'm going to be a better administrator for it. I'm going to be a better person, and I'm going to be better in how I work with the parents and families in the community. So that's the part. It's it's not getting discouraged,
Right.
and not quitting. I think those are the big attributes that come from that, being willing to accept there's going to be some failures and to move on. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, I know, like you said, you've actually done different, webinars and read books and things like that. And the same thing I have also on leadership and things like that. And one of the things that I've actually have tried to adopt that I've learned, and I think this is a great idea, although it's not always the easiest to do, which is, like you were saying, you don't quit. You don't quit when you have a setback or things are not going well. Um, you have to push through, and the only time you should actually move off onto something else is at the top of your game. Once you're really doing well, okay, basically I've won the game.
Mhm.
Now I can move on to something else. That way you always grow. But if you actually leave and quit after a loss or after a failure or after it didn't quite go the way you wanted to, then what happens is you don't grow. You actually just go, you shrink, you get smaller and smaller. Whereas if you push through, get to the point where I have conquered this thing. I've got it. Now, okay, let's move on to another game, a new thing.
Mhm.
And that's not easy to do all the time, but that really is the way to continue to grow and do better, you know. So well, now let me ask you this here. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about the school, how things are going, students, what they have to look forward to once they get from middle school going into high school? Anything you'd like to say about that right now?
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say that I, like I said, I was always a high school person, and I came to the middle school, and it was difficult at first. But one thing that I've definitely it's grown on me is how Luther is a huge family where they care about kids. There's a lot of parents on my staff. The teachers are parents, and it's they wear multiple roles. It's not just you're there, you're teaching, you're educating in behavior, and I know a lot of people really embrace that, and there's a huge love. I really enjoy working with tons of my staff because of how they are and their love. It doesn't mean we agree all the time. There's sometimes I disagree with them, but I do not disagree with their passion and their love for working with kids, and that's a part that I'm very happy about. I'm also because of my strong high school background, I really want to give our eighth graders a much information leading into high school. I know they're not really high school kids until they go to high school, but they're going to be my students until they leave after promotion. And there's a lot of programs and parent meetings that I'm doing to support them in their journey to high school and getting ready. A lot of them want to play, sports and be a part of choir and drama, which are great programs. I think it's great for kids to be a part of something extracurricular like that. I think when they have a lot of free time, they have opportunities to make unwise decisions. And I think having kids involved in extracurriculars is great. At the high schools, we require kids to have a 2.0 or better to be a part of it. So it forces them to good grades. You have more adult supervision throughout a longer part of the day, and they're a part of something where they learn, dedication and hard work. So these are the things that I am encouraging a lot of my eighth graders to do when they go to high school. And I've had a lot of good feedback from families of what I'm doing, and I'm happy to do it. I want to give them as a great of a launch off as I can before they start their high school life. And then on the flip side of it, I've been going to a lot of our feeder schools and connecting with them, and took my counselors over to a lot of the feeder schools and had parent nights, fifth grade parent night, and had um, read books to some of the elementary schools, because I want them to learn that when you come over to Luther, you're going to be with Mr. Hubbell, and I'm a familiar face. So when they finally step on my campus, it won't be the first time. They will have seen me before. So I'm trying to do it on both ends. I'm worried about my school as a whole. I'm worried about my eighth graders that are leaving, and want to make sure they're prepared. And I'm looking at the future yellow jacket students that are going to be coming over and making sure that they're welcome over. So yeah, no, I'm I'm looking at a lot of my and I'm taking this from a lot of my friends that are leaders, and losing a lot of their skills that they've taught me, and I've been very proud to work with some awesome site administrators, and we have a lot of great leaders in the Burbank Unified School District. I'm bragging about Luther, but I think there's a lot of great leaders and great schools, great teachers here, and this is a great place to be.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I think this has actually been very informative. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I know you've got a very, very busy schedule, and for sharing your thoughts with us and about some of the things that are going on at Luther Burbank, and how you see things going into the future. Well, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mondo. Appreciate it.
Okay, very good, very good. So I want to thank all of our listeners and all of those watching on YouTube for joining us today. I hope that you found that the show today to be valuable and informative for you also. If you liked today's show and you haven't already, please subscribe so as not to miss any of our scheduled upcoming interviews. Right now, I've got another teacher that has many years of experience teaching at the high school and middle school level, but she's now most recently has done 21 years teaching kindergarten. She's going to talk about what parents should do to prepare their little ones for kindergarten and how proper preparation will help students be successful throughout their entire school career and beyond. Okay. I also have two college professors that teach writing to entering college freshmen. They're going to talk about what they see as common problems or difficulties that students face when learning to write or to increase their writing skills. So definitely you want to not miss those. Subscribe, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.